Welcome everybody to today's consultation webinar on Canada's Organic Action Plan. And my name is Tia Lofsgaard. I'm the Executive Director here at the Canada Organic Trade Association. And today's webinar is being hosted by our Canadian Organic Alliance, which is made up of our three national associations, Canada Organic Trade Association, Canadian Organic Growers, and Organic Federation of Canada. And with being national in nature, we are spread across the country. So we're coming to you from PEI, Montreal, as well as Ottawa. So I'd just like to recognize that Ottawa is on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin peoples. And so for today, we are going to have a great mini presentation. This is not a topic that you're unfamiliar with. We've been talking about the Organic Action Plan for several years now. We've got 2 years under our belt. And this is our time when we are presenting the end results for your final consultation. Nothing in this organic sector is ever without lots of consultation, as we do with our standards review, etc. So today is your opportunity that you're going to be learning a little bit more about how we finessed some of the pillars, and just to get that final round of feedback from all of you. So you can listen in here today, and we'll give you the link later where you're going to be able to finalize your formal consultation feedback. But before we do that, I'd like to hand it over to my co-presenters to introduce themselves. So handing it over to COG.
Thanks, Tia, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karen Murchison. I'm coming to you from the province of Prince Edward Island, and I'm the Executive Director at Canadian Organic Growers. You'll hear from my colleague, Katie Fettis, our Director of Policy at Canadian Organic Growers. She'll introduce herself briefly, and I'll be available at the end of the presentation during the question and answer period to answer questions if you have any for me. Looking forward to this and hearing from you. Take care.
Thanks,
Katie.
Karen. And I'm Katie Fettis, as Karen said, the Director of Policy and Research with Canadian Organic Growers, or COG. And we'll pass it on to you, Nicole.
My name is Nicole Boudreau at the Organic Federation of Canada. I'm not a presenter today. I'm just here to ensure that some French translation is if needed. And I will be present tomorrow with Maylene the French webinar about the Canadian, about our organic plan. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Maylene Bosch, and I'm the Government Relations and Regulatory Affairs Manager at the Canada Organic Trade Association as well. So I'll hand it off to Tia.
Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. So this has been a lot of work over a lot of years, and people sometimes say, what is this organic action plan that you keep talking about? It is very much an evergreen process. As you recall, we used to have an organic value chain roundtable, and we had a strategic plan. So that was our starting point, taking where we came from during that time when we had a roundtable, and we essentially kicked off from there and really continuing to look at what is it that we strategically need to grow Canada's organic sector. And many of the action items that are coming out of our action plan are macro issues, but we've been listening to the micro topics and trying to see where's the commonalities between all of the different feedback that we've received in the last couple of years. And what we want is a unifying framework to align the sector to really coordinate us as an industry and very much as government and what we need out of government, and as other stakeholders and that have shared goals with the organic sector. So we've really been putting together a lot of thought, action, and want to make this something that's going to be very tangible. So we're now at the place where we're hoping that you'll all identify with a portion of a pillar that we're going to be presenting today, or all of it, that there's different elements for your business that are important, whether you're a farmer, whether you're a processor, whether you're a certification body, or even if you're an academic. There's elements in here that are really concrete and conclusive to give us that framework, so that when we are working with you as our members and as our farmers and as our processors, that we're able to actually have the right advocacy tool set to go and influence government in regards to what their role is, but as well as industry, so that we actually understand that we have a role to play. And just as we were talking through some of these slides earlier today, I was reflecting on, the organic sector really is something that came from industry doing it first, and the government came in later and regulated us. And so if you take that approach to remember that we as industry really have a role to play on securing what we want as the future of organic, it's very empowering. And we're hoping that through this presentation today, you'll be able to actually see yourself and your business through this entire organic action plan. Of course, the whole reasons that we're doing this is to benefit on some of the things that are important to government as well, which are climate change, economic, and food security, and a huge opportunity, I think, for the entire sector. Why are we doing this now? As mentioned, this is not necessarily a new thing. This is something that has really been coming to light over the last many years. But we've also been motivated because we saw the European Union put together action plans as a way to coordinate all of their member states to be able to achieve a collective goal. And that is very motivating. And it really got us to the point where we started looking at, Canada is ready. We really feel like this is the time that this new government can adopt an organic action plan. And we've been really sorting through the rationale of this, where we've got more markets happening. You can see Europe is growing like crazy, the Indo-Pacific region, where we have new equivalency arrangements, and the US, of course, continues to be the #1 market. So if we don't get ourselves sorted, we are definitely going to see other competitors or collaborators take advantage of this in a way that we also want to as Canadians. We want to seize this opportunity to unlock the billions of dollars of farm income, to grow and diversify our exports, and really to expand consumer access to organic food within our own region. And we really want to, we've been spelling out in all of our conversations with the government about how we can help Canada meet their goals when it comes to trade, when it comes to climate and food security, and other things like the biodiversity goals they've got. And how are we going to do that? We need to actually support our farmers and our businesses better by boosting that domestic production, their capacity, and reduce the reliance that we have on imports from other regions, while really taking advantage, especially of this sentiment right now of grow Canadian and buy Canadian. And of course, in staying competitive with those key trading partners, I think it's really important for us to have more strategies and investment coordinated with policies. So we're really looking at a way to make the whole organic system, whether it's from the policy directives, whether it's from the funding directives that we have, whether we have more programs available to support. It's really about creating that resiliency in order for us to take advantage of the opportunities we know are there. And just to give us a current state of affairs, you can see from the charts that the market continues to grow. This is hot off the press. 9.75 billion is where we're at. So we're growing year over year. And this is a 5-year trajectory you can see just on the Canadian market. But if we think beyond Canada, we've got market growth happening in all sorts of other regions that we also want to be able to send our great Canadian products abroad for. And we can do that because we've been building up how many markets we need organic equivalencies with. We now have 9 equivalency arrangements with 35 countries. Those are all the main organic markets in the world. So we've done very well since 2009 in expanding our organic equivalencies. And how do we do that? By having a rigorous standard where we have trust in our regulations that we, as a organic industry and a government, but also those standards are reviewed every single 5 years period. So we're current, and people like Canadian products, they trust them. And you can see that when it comes to the consumer demand. These are Canadian statistics done by Agriculture Canada. 55% of Canadians are seeking organic food. That's over half the population. So, and 35% say that they purchase often or always organic food. So it's not a niche thing anymore. It's very much becoming mainstream. And 60% of those are willing to pay more for organic because they understand the benefits for their own personal reasons, whether it be health, whether it be environment, whether it be about really understanding their food system that they're supporting. But the one thing that we do need to mention is that we have seen a decline when it comes to certain areas. And you can see that we have had a 3% growth on organic producers, but that's not the numbers we used to have. And we have seen a decline in the amount of organic acreage of 3.5%. So there's work for us to do, and it's been a fairly exciting and rosy picture for the organic sector, and where we've naturally experienced these growths. Now is the time that we need to actually invest and support in order to continue the success that we've had. I'm going to pass it on to Katie to take it on for the next couple slides.
Thank you so much, Tia. So as Tia outlines, there is an opportunity here, and that opportunity is not only at home here in Canada at a time when, Canadians are looking for more Canadian products, and that would include Canadian organic, but that opportunity is also global. And when we did some research, just coming out of a organic task force process with a report being launched later this week to quantify what are the impacts of this growth going to be for Canada, we also did some policy analysis looking at what are other jurisdictions doing to meet this opportunity. And we actually find that Canada, among major agricultural nations, is alone in its approach to not having an organic strategy and an organic action plan type of approach. Because this is really being a full value chain sector based on the assurance system and also in the consumer market, something that needs work. There's really jurisdictions that have been successful have taken this strategic approach to growing production and the market at the same time, while also ensuring that the regulatory environment and policy is enabling. So we find that our competitors and as Tia says, our partners and collaborators are not only investing more, but that investment is also coming from a policy focus. So we find the United States, for example, is spending 8 times more per acre per year annually on organic food and farming programs. So that includes market and production. The EU on average is spending 200 times more per acre per year, and that varies widely across countries, but on the whole is significantly more. And we also find that being matched with strategic programs. So the United States in 2022 launched the Organic Transition Initiative to expand farming and markets and to be able to better meet target markets both at home and abroad. And that's a significant initiative with $300 million coming in. And that's adding on to existing organic specific programming that exists at the federal level, including through policy frameworks like the Farm Bill. In the EU, organic is now a central pillar of EU policy for farm economics, rural livelihoods, but also for climate biodiversity and water targets. So at this stage, there is a 25% target by 2030. So across the EU, 25% of organic farmland should be certified organic by 2030. And driving towards that goal, all countries now have organic action plans that they are using to work towards that. And some countries also have goals in other areas. So that includes market targets, export targets, and numbers of farmer targets. So this is an approach that has been successful in other jurisdictions and that we feel definitely can work as well here in Canada. Next slide, please. So our vision with using a strategic approach like this would be that across the diversity of the organic sector and the diversity of the sector in general, that we would be able to make progress in all areas. So our vision with this plan would be that the Canadian organic sector is a major component of the food and ag system, that organic farmers are achieving fair livelihoods, and that more farmers are able to see and enter into the opportunity. And as well as that organic farming does what is potential for it to do in terms of leading in environmental and climate innovation, and also that the rest of the world would recognize that innovation coming from Canada. So that includes, strengthening our research and extension system for organic farming. That also includes that the processing sector is successful and vibrant. And that there is development along the full supply chain from farm to market and to table. It also includes that organic foods are accessible and affordable for Canadians. So there is a component of this action plan that requires the consumer side of this. So affordability and accessibility of food are major topics right now on the mind of Canadians. And this is something that we need to take a strategic approach as a sector and also as a public-private partnership with government to make sure that the solutions are there to make these products accessible. Organic should also be widely understood by Canadians as a verified sustainable production system. So we do have a good base of awareness and understanding, but there is more work to be done in terms of engagement, awareness, knowledge, and true deep understanding of everything that's behind the organic system. And then also finally, that the adoption of organic farming systems contributes to rural revitalization and economic development. Next slide, please. So the Organic Action Plan is a public-private partnership. The organic sector has been, we've been working and developing based on public-private partnerships. So through the work of the federal government in regulating and promoting organic, and also through the work, as Tia said, of many, hundreds and thousands of people over the years in terms of developing the sector, developing markets, engaging with consumers, and building organic to what it is today. So we are starting with a strong foundation, and this plan, the way we've structured it out, has sections both for the sector as well as for government. So what we're really asking you to look at when you look at this plan and when you fill out the survey over the next few weeks is to look at both sides of it. So we have what we would like to publish as sector actions that we can agree together to work on strategically in coordination. So we'll go through in just a minute each pillar of the plan, and within each theme or action area, there will be things that the sector will be working on. And many things that we already are working on and that we would like to do in a more expanded and more coordinated way. There are also areas that we've identified which are roles for governments, federal, provincial, and territorial. And those are what we can use as the basis of recommendations going into the government. So this is really coordinating and using a strategic approach, building on the strong regulatory and enforcement approach that we have. So on to the next slide, and we will just give you a little bit more in-depth briefing about the pillars of the action plan. So this plan has 3 pillars. We really, when we look at what other jurisdictions have done in terms of rapidly growing organic food and farming, it's through a balanced set of policy mechanisms. So and also sector actions. So those are balanced between the push and the pull mechanisms, as they call it, or the supply and the demand, or also in this case, production supports and market development supports and actions. So this plan has 3 pillars, the way that we've organized it. The first is to strengthen the policy, regulatory, and data infrastructure for the sector. The second is really to work on the production aspect and make sure that we can meet that gap that Tia had identified and boost and stabilize production and supply. So that one is called Accelerate Growth and Innovation in Organic Production. And the third is really on the market side. So pillar 3 is Grow Organic Markets and Demand. And we will take you through those in a little bit more detail just now in terms of what you'll see. Next slide, please. So number 1 is really to create this enabling framework for organic. So to establish policy direction and a supportive regulatory environment, as well as to increase and invest in the capacity that will be needed to carry out this plan and all the different aspects of it. So number 1 would be to establish a policy framework for organic food and farming. And since organic is a cross-cutting sector, it is also, a framework that's going to have to be across multiple agencies. So this would touch on environment, this would touch on jobs, this would touch on agriculture, it would touch on health, right? But it's not just those things, it's even beyond that. So this is what a cross-agency policy framework would be needed for and would accomplish. And it starts also and includes a mandate for developing the sector at Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada on a national level. It also includes investing in capacity both in the sector and government, It includes launching an organic data strategy. So this is an area that we have initiated work on and have been working on for, I think we can say many years, but also initiated, new work on this to be able to increase the availability of organic data across production, trade, markets, labor, across everything related to organics. So this is definitely an area of public-private partnership that we need to form the basis of the rest of this plan and also to develop the production and market. But to modernize the organic regulatory framework and safeguard organic integrity. So this is definitely related to availability of data, but it's also related to expanding the scope of the organic regulatory system and what the standards cover. It's also related to harmonizing regulations across the country, provincially, territorially, and federally. And then the fifth part there connected to that would be to ensure that robust organic standards are up to date and remain credible. And this just involves some low cost, some reasonably costed investments in the areas of investing in the organic standards revision process that do have big returns in terms of allowing us to meet the market opportunities that are there. So that's pillar number 1. And we'll just move on to pillar number 2. So this is really in the area of boosting organic production and being able to meet the opportunities that exist for organic. So expanding domestic supply, and also in addition to that is enhancing the outcomes from organic production that we know are possible. So in the task force research that we've done that we'll be putting out, we found a couple of things from the research. Number 1 is that there are, as we all probably know, but we've got some numbers to add to it, is that there are significant entry barriers, transition barriers that are financial and also technical in nature to enter the sector. So this is recommending organic transition cost share supports, but on that, which would be available to farmers entering organic, but it would also be available to organic farmers looking to expand their operations. We also know that this support is needed in technical support area. So that's why our number 1 area is on expanding education, extension, and knowledge transfer, which is very much related to 2.2, investing in organic research to drive innovation and impact. We feel that we have a unique organic science coordination system in Canada through the Organic Science Cluster, but it is a diverse cluster and it focuses on a lot of different areas, a lot of different commodities, a lot of different products and geographies across the country, and investing in and expanding that system will allow the Organic Science Cluster and related research to better address the national organic research priorities that we have. And this is also something that is valuable to the agriculture sector as a whole, as we look to adopt and have increasing interest in adopting low input and climate resilient farming methods. So in terms of de-risking transition, we also would like to see better supports to support production. So those are in the areas of the business risk management programs, ensuring that those programs are tailored to and support the success of organic and diversified farms across the country, improving access to organic inputs, and also with all of this, putting support into growing the next generation of organic farmers. This is something that the sector is focusing on overall in terms of succession and how much farmland is going to change hands in the coming few years. And we're also seeing it as an opportunity as we have young farmers and young people looking to get into farming, and many of those coming from non-farming backgrounds and being very interested in organic and ecological agriculture, and requiring some supports in terms of being able to access the opportunities that exist. So with all of that, it's about making the organic system perform to the fullest potential that it can, and also bringing more people into the organic opportunity on the farm side. And of course, that will also be matched by the market development side. So with that, I'll hand it off to Tia again to take us through into pillar 3 on market development.
Right. Thanks. And I think I'll just take a pause there and just say we are going super macro on this presentation. The details that you need are in the actual plan. So we're covering kind of high level at this point, but to really read the details of those recommendations for government and industry, you need to go into the actual plan, which we'll give you the link to. And Maylene, whenever it is that you want to start dropping some links in there, you can. But just to highlight that when it comes to production, we don't want to produce a lot if there's no market for it, right? We do not want producers to go through all that work. So we need a balanced approach. We need to continue to grow the market and the opportunity at home and abroad. And we've been really thinking about this in regards to how to make sure that we're removing whatever the barriers are across production and market. And one of the big barriers that we've always heard is that there's not enough funding mechanisms for market development activities. And I think we know that very much so because we do run the Choose Canada Organic program to build awareness and consumer demand for the organic, and we do it on a shoestring. So we really need more help on making their the demand for organic at home and abroad, understanding what does that word organic in the logo mean through additional funding mechanisms. Also, increasing the processing capacity and regional development of regional food systems and supply chain collaboration to expand that market access. We certainly hear from processors all the time that they need more supply, they need more processing facilities, etc. So this is an area that we can foresee that we can do some additional support on. And then, of course, on consumer trust, that is the whole reason that there's a market, is because people, once they get to know what it is and they understand that the mechanisms are there on the enforcement and keeping the integrity of organic authentic, consumer trust is where it's at. So there's a lot to be done, with retailers, with academic partners, with marketing agencies across the country, just to be able to continue to reach those consumers all across the entire sector, in order to make them understand what is organic, and why is it that they would like to purchase it. Of course, engaging with those retail actors, we already do a lot of retail work, but we're limited in scope in what we've been able to achieve. But that is really where we've seen some other areas of the world accelerate quickly because they got the retailers on side. And we know that retailers are very curious right now about more Canadian suppliers due to the economic situation with the tariffs. So we can see that we're getting a lot more engagement with retailers, but we need the capacity to be able to respond to that as well. We need to also do a lot more on the public and private procurement of organic products. We've seen in many other jurisdictions where organic is part of school lunch programs. We've seen entire communities make a organic proclamation when it comes to some of the Asian countries that have had entire neighborhoods vowing to go organic and putting those programs in place. So I think there's a lot that can be done here beyond the Organic Campus program that we currently are running, and really get into much stronger programming for public and private procurement. And of course, to support organic promotions through collaboration. Currently, we do receive some funding through the agri-marketing program, but it generally means we can send 1 to 2 companies that are organic certified into a trade show. So we certainly need more funds in order to expand on the export potentials. Particularly, we've got 35 countries that are interested in our products, but they need to be able to get those into their hands. So there's a lot of work still to be done on the market side, even though that is one of our shining points that we've been still experiencing growth. But as we get to be more mainstream, I think we'll need more supports. We need more market reports that actually show where there's an opportunity or even a product expansion by the companies who are already certified. And with that, I just want to give you a bit of an overview of sort of where we're at. As mentioned, we started this process back in August 2023, and of course, we need your feedback. And this is the purpose of this presentation today, is to ask for your next stage of feedback through our consultation survey. So we are right now in that public consultation phase. We launched it August 26th, and we want to leave it open for quite a nice amount of time until October 3rd. We know people are winding down farming season over the next month and a bit. So we have this second draft that we will be taking your feedback, and then we will be pulling the major themes that come out of that with a final concise version, which we plan to launch at the end of October, early November. And what's driving that is that we do have our Code of Parliament Day happening November 3rd and 4th in Ottawa. So that is something that we're really trying to get your feedback in, and it will have to close it off by October 3rd. So please don't delay. Please take a peek at the links. And you're welcome, even if you do your first draft and you have more feedback, please feel free to give it to us. We are considering this very much evergreen, and we will continue to have new needs as time goes on. So this is sort of our point, but consider this an evergreen document that is going to allow us to have something very concrete when we go and present at standing committees, when we're in discussions with Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Environment, etc. So this will go into our whole advocacy strategy. And you can see that the formal launch will be November 4th at CODA's Parliament Day on Parliament Hill. If you've never been, it is where we go and meet with MPs and senators on the Hill. We arrange meetings between constituents and MPs to really highlight that organic is an important consideration for them. And these meetings generally prompt, when there's standing committees, for us to be invited to give the organic perspective on an agricultural or trade issue. So it might feel like, oh, why are we having this meeting? It's because this is really what sticks in their head. And then eventually it goes into their recommendations, which becomes policy. So these small meetings do turn into something for our organic sector, and it's what's required of us to ask from you. We will continue to advocate, and we'll ask, of course, our members and our farmers across the country to advocate at your own local level, because that is really what makes a difference. Invite your MPs to understand what the needs are and how that comes through on the pillars that we're presenting. So as we have been really when working on many of these issues over the course of many years, you can see that the work plan that is coming out of this final plan, it's partially in process because, of course, the world doesn't stop because we're writing a document. And we are here looking to go further. So we'll be continuing to look at how this affects our work plan for 2026 with all of our supply chain actors and the entire sector to coordinate different elements and different working groups that might come out of this overall plan. So stick with us and please complete the survey. By October 3rd, we are going to keep it open until midnight on Pacific time. And let us know your perspective. Do you support areas in this plan? Or are these areas that you're like, no way, we should not be doing that? But what else should be in there that we've missed perhaps in the first couple of years of consulting? Do you feel like any of these proposed actions support the growth of organic production in Canada? And do you feel like our measures go far enough to stabilize and expand markets? So with this plan, of course, we are trying to encourage farmers and manufacturers to transition. Do we have the right supports in place to make that happen? And to support those that are already certified organic? And is this environmental impact of organic production recognized and promoted at its true value? So at the link, and I'm sure Maylene is putting some links in the comments for you, you can see that we have our longer written out draft organic action plan. That's where you're going to find all the details where you can work on, give it a good read. Maybe you could even use Copilot and ask it to summarize for you. We don't care how you get the information, but we do value you completing that survey. And we're hoping it doesn't take too long for you to do that. We've kept it fairly open and wide questions so that you can narrow in on the things that really impacted you when you read through it, and make sure that you get that done. So we're going to end it here. I just want to do a thank you to all of our participants today. Without you, of course, we'd be just sitting here making decisions by ourselves, and we don't plan to do that. We're consultative and cooperative. And also, here is all of our contact details. So you can reach out to any of us, and here's our emails. Please know that we very much value your feedback. We have thousands, I think there's over 7,500 operators in this country. So we can't have individual conversations with every single one of you. We do value you putting your feedback in writing so that we can consolidate it in one format that we'll be able to present back to you and present back to the politicians. And we don't want to misquote you in taking and making, a summary of what you said to us in a phone call. So please do the consultation, and then we can get your feedback and present it back to you once we're all done. So I will leave it there. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We're going to open it up for some questions that you may have. And if people want to put their photos back on. I don't know if anybody wants to share their photos, but we love seeing you across the country. And we can take some questions that we have. I'll turn it over to Maylene, and she's going to moderate the rest of the question. And you can either direct your question, or Maylene may choose a speaker who's best equipped to answer that question.
Great.
So over to
Great. Thank you, Tia and Katie, for giving us such a comprehensive and, again, very high level of the Organic Action Plan. I'm not sure how many of you guys have had a chance to actually review it. There is, as I said, a lot in there, and it is really the culmination of many, many years of work. I think as we go through it, I think one of the key things is, how does it resonate with you? If you have any questions, I really encourage you to put them in the chat with any specifics. In the meantime, there were some questions that came ahead of time when we were actually setting up the webinar. And maybe I'll just go through some of these first. Actually, there was one that was happening was, what exactly is the COA? Maybe we can get Karen, did you want to help give us an overview of that one?
Sure, I was having a problem unmuting, I'm sorry. Certainly I can do that. So the COA is the Canadian Organic Alliance. It's the union of the Canadian Organic Trade Association, Canadian Organic Growers, and Organic Federation of Canada, working collectively towards achieving shared goals for the sector, and really sort of operating in a collaborative manner to be the voice for organics at the national level. So I think that's again, at a fairly high level without getting into a whole lot of details. I will say one other thing I will add is that we do have an MOU that defines that union, that partnership that we have amongst the three organizations. And so we do operate very, very collaboratively and under a clear set of guidelines for our collaboration.
Great. Thank you, Karen. And you can see that through this MOU, we actually really do represent the entire value chain and the interests really of the organic sector. Another question is, we have been talking about many of these issues for a number of years. What makes things different now with this Organic Action Plan that you feel will open opportunities versus previous years? Would someone like to start? I'm sure there's many opinions on this one because we've had lots of discussions on it.
Well, maybe I can just give my idea. I've been working with the sector since 2007. Previously, I was working at CarTV in 2005. And I am a biologist, so I feel concerned with the environment. It's not just a job for me. It's something that I like to do. And we need to settle organic somewhere into the agricultural framework. So far, it is the industry that has really supported the growth of organics. But now, because we have so diversified, so spread across the country, we need a framework. We need to establish a frame. And so to pursue the growth, the government needs to step in, and especially since that they claim that they are sustainable, but they say everywhere that yes, they support sustainable, and it's good intention, but where is organic in the sustainable picture? We don't see it very clearly. we apply to programs, but and we are welcome to apply to programs, but the fund matching requirement that is needed now, especially for the science cluster, is now 50-50. It's very tough to fund the research that organic research that has a sustainable objective, a pure sustainable objective. So we must continue to push, get the help that we need, and establish organic as a permanent agricultural valid structure.
And I think Tia and Katie had their hands down up before. Why are you optimistic that we will be making more progress with this OAP, Organic Action Plan? Tia, did you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I really feel new government always brings new opportunity, and particularly, I think we're seeing, I mean, within a couple weeks of the new government being announced, we were able to meet with the minister and the deputy minister. So that made an impression on me, that's for sure. But also the agileness of this new Liberal government is moving quite quickly, and we're seeing a desire to be innovative and reduce red tape and to do change. They're open to change in a way that I haven't felt in the last 10 years that I've been doing this job. So I'm very optimistic, and I think us being prepared as a sector going into those new conversations with new people is just fabulous. So I'm hopeful.
Okay. Katie?
I thank you. I would agree with that. I think you could say on the one hand, it's just a natural next step. So organic has been regulated in Canada for over 15 years now, and it's time to invest in it. And it's time to do that in a strategic way. I think success in other jurisdictions shows the way for us. This is really looking at things that have worked and been very, successfully done, and things that we can adopt. And that's not just in jurisdictions outside of Canada. That's also some approaches that have been taken in Canada too, on a provincial level. So I would point to Quebec probably as the most robust policy approach to organic, not only introducing organic specific programs, but also integrating organic into other policies, so into the biofood policy as a way of achieving goals on a broader level. So this is what we see also other countries doing. We just had an opportunity to attend the Organic Summit in Denmark, where there was discussion about how are countries in Europe going to achieve that 25% target, and how are they driving towards it. And the former EU Commissioner for Climate spoke in closing that event and said, we see organic food and farming as a Swiss Army knife of a policy tool. It's like buying a Swiss Army knife instead of buying scissors, going back and buying a knife, going back and buying everything else that you find in there. So it's one investment that has multiple impacts. And I think for us, framing things in that way is what we need to do, and what resonates. And I think we do see receptivity towards that. And like Tia said, I think there is also willingness right now in this moment of tariffs and just response to that. There's willingness to tailor policies and programs and supports by sector, and to tailor them a little bit more. And like just the nimbleness that Tia mentioned. So I think that this is it just opens an opportunity. So there's opportunities coming from all sides. There's also threats, coming from all sides. So this is where it does make sense to policymakers to say we need a strategy, and we're coming and providing what we think can be in that strategy. So it's we're laying it all out, and we're just looking for the buy-in and the collaboration.
Great, thank you. I think from my perspective, I would just add that when you're united in what you have and you put forward, you tend to be more successful. So having this come forth from the COA, trying to get engagement across the provinces, the regions, across all of our members in the sector, putting together a plan that is not ad hoc. It's not adding things as they go. We're coming with a vision, and we're coming with something cohesive to present to government. And we know that often government is looking for a solution, right? And don't just give me what your problem is, give me some ideas for your solution. And this is what we're having with the Organic Action Plan. And we talked, I think, that it is a long-term strategy. There are priorities that are going to come and go, and they're short-term, but also the fact that we have a vision, that we have steps that we can take, as a sector and as government. Just looking at the chat again. Thank you, Margaret. Having a united voice is so helpful for government to bring everything together. Great. And any other feedback? I have a couple more questions, but please, if you have a comment, please raise your hand or go ahead and put your comment in the chat, and then we can start another discussion. Another question we have is, this plan is heavy on policy. How does it relate to what I do as a researcher, as a farmer, as a brand? So maybe I will invite some of our other team to be able to answer that. Nicole, why should researchers or scientists care about the OAP, and how can they get involved in a more tangible way? Because it is very policy related.
Well, research, would they like it or not? Researchers are already involved, because when actually for the current science cluster that runs from 23 to 28, when they submitted their applications, they had to choose that there were 3 pillars. You know, the pillars is the projects had to be about climate change and environment, or they had to be economic growth and development, or the third pillar was sector resilience. So all the projects that are currently done under the Science Cluster 4 are under these pillars. So, and so they prove, and now we do the knowledge transfer. We try to innovate cluster after cluster to innovate our science, the transfer of science. We do films, we do articles, we do podcasts. So the researchers, they serve the OAP because they do the innovation, they do the research, and we also have a portion of the cluster that is a study of impact of the organic science on our environment. So on the research side of it, they prove it, they develop, and they check how OFC delivers the ecological and environmental services that we want. On the policy side, well, certainly what we will do, we will contact them, we will distribute the organic action plan, we would invite them to participate to this, because the funding, because we don't have funding mechanism, we need to develop funding mechanism, because researchers are very much limited in research, in organic research, because organic is quite new. It's not an established marketing board who has millions in the bank account. So how do we fund the research? And what we would like to see, for example, is that if there is another cluster iteration, the organic would the matching required by organic would be proportional to the organic capacity, because we are always at the same level as the all-time pioneer and senior marketing boards. So some researchers are good with policies, some are in the back of it, it's not.
Great, thank you, Nicole. Karen, do you have a perspective on why should farmers care about this action plan, and how can they get involved in a concrete way or make it more concrete to what they're doing every day?
Well, absolutely. And I think Katie used a really good example in Quebec, where they have established very clear policies and programs, supporting programs that have facilitated new entrants, have supported transition, and have ended up, providing also clear policies and programs to support market access and to build markets, or looking at how they can build markets and support market access. So I think that for farmers, it's coming back to sort of what Katie had talked about and some of the work that we're doing. It's really about making farmers recognize that a strong policy framework actually supports innovation on their farm through research, through market access, allows more, increased profitability, and just increases, improves their livelihoods potentially, and contributes to their broader rural community.
And maybe I'll just finish it off before we open it back to the participants in here. What about in terms of brands and processors, Tia? What changes this policy plan that we have to something more concrete that they should actually care about?
I'm thinking about it in the light of de-risking organic. And of course, when you go to become an organic processor, you've got limited supply options, right? This plan really looks to grow the supply in Canada, support the farmers with crop insurance and things that they need in order to actually take the risk and grow production. Of course, the science also will help them in regards to like improving yield and the market side, of course, needs the data, which is part of the plan as well. You need to know what to grow for which market, and the data is also needed when it comes to processors, right? They need to know, do I need to source outside of Canada because we don't have enough here? I've also heard of many banks saying that they need to know about the growth of the market. And so the processors will only get their funding from the banks if we've got good data that helps support their growth. So there's many ways I think that from a processor point of view that this plan kind of helps to de-risk supply chains. But the other part is on the sales side. I mean, everybody's out there trying to sell your goods, but we all collectively could do a better job of getting organic messaging out there through the brands, collective engagement in regards to understanding who that consumer is and what appeals to them and having really effective marketing campaigns collectively, which helps the retailers sell the products and bring more products in, which makes them more curious, makes them want to collaborate more with the organic sector because they're bringing in products that have a premium, that have loyal customers, that really improves their sustainability claims and the way that they're supporting. So I think there's a lot of things that tie together in all of the pillars that kind of culminate in the market demand pillar. That if without all those other things, we're going to struggle on maintaining market. And I think it's really important for us to make sure that we've got a strong Canada Organic logo that's understood by consumers across the country and in demand.
Great. I think thank you, Brody, for putting your thoughts into the chat about decreasing the regulatory burden in developing the sector and about the retail landscape. That's great. I think we have probably the COA, we've spoken a lot. I think now I turn it back to the sector and the rest of the sector, actually. I just dropped in again the draft document. Hopefully this has given you, this webinar has given you enough of an interest that you're interested in reading more in depth the whole document and providing us with some of your feedback. In the survey, it's fairly quick. It'll probably just take you about 10 minutes to complete, and let us know what you think. And in the few minutes that we have left, I would love to open it up and just ask, what are your thoughts? Does this resonate? What do you feel it needs? How do we share this more with your colleagues, your members, other businesses in the organic sector? If you have any thoughts, that would be great.
I would even say, how do we share this beyond organic to get
Yes.
all those other people curious, right? It's one thing to speak to our converted, but I think there's a lot more capacity. And I always think about when we first doing the data tracking on producers, there was only 800 certified producers, right? Now there's like 7,000. So let's make sure we don't go into a little funnel. We need to speak broadly, and we should be influencing the entire landscape of the Canadian food economy.
Good point. Nicole, did you have something? You're on mute.
Also, where I was talking to the birds. No, I think it is the coordinated strategy that matters here. to have market and production growing at the same time. Some producers sometimes are afraid, oh, if there are too many producers, that would be too many, or I won't be able to sell my organic pulse. So the beauty of this plan to me is coordinating the research, the market, the production all together so that we have a growth that will stay. If you just develop one segment of it, it will fall down if the other pillars are not developed. So it is amalgamating all of this and pushing it.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I want to pick up on what Brody is saying and talk about Denmark some more, but that is what we observed as a core strategy for success in Denmark is focusing on market development, and that means focusing on retail engagement. So that goes to your second point, Brody, on that one, but it's also about public procurement engagement. So making sure that the demand is there as a way of sustaining growth. And the reality is on what is our role engaging with policy. Most of the policy supports have been implemented by the sector at large. So hopefully what the success with this organic action plan will lead to looks like is support and an enable environment coming to the sector, that we would need to work more on the things that we already are doing in a more coordinated way to implement what those goals are, and just like driving towards the same goals in general.
Great.
Thank you.
So maybe as the host, I'll wrap it up here and just want you to, maybe we can just highlight again, hopefully that you all know how to get a hold of us. You can always reach out to us. We have our eyes and ears always open at getting feedback from you. And already the standards consultations is wrapped up. So now you can go and do another consultation. We got to keep you busy. So thank you everybody for participating today. We will be recording this. We have been recording this and we're going to circulate it out to everybody. So please feel free to forward it on and get others engaged. And I will also be sending it all to all the organic certification bodies as well. So thank you for your time, your feedback, and your love. I can see coming from our participants today. So thank you so much, everybody. Take care and have a good rest of your afternoon.